actually. I
Okay.
think most everybody's here. Norma's not coming, so and honestly, if we like start chanting or something, then don't let anybody in during that time because I'm gonna
It's
just jump
disruptive.
into this because well, this is really this came to me and as things do kind of out of the blue and but then it came to me. I think we've developed like a tight enough meditation group here that we can hold the space and do a practice like this. This isn't a practice. This is a practice that was done by like the whole Sangha or what you say the Buddhist community during this particular time of year, leading up for the first 7 to 10 days before Tibetan New Year, which is called Losar in Tibet, and which is Chinese New Year. And for the Shambhala community, it's called Shambhala Day. But Losar is what I like to call it. Um, and what was I going to say? So this is like a sacred text and sacred work that's been passed down, and I'm going to go over. I want to give you a little bit of background. I put up a really big long post on Gateway to Gaia, so that and Melissa, if you need access to it, I can give you access to it. But we'll that gives a whole lot of different background on this. Right now, as everyone I'm sure is highly aware, there is a lot of stuff moving and a lot of stuff going on energetically. And it's no accident that this is mirrored in all of this external turmoil. We are in the last Losar New Year, Chinese New Year, happens on the new moon in Aquarius every year. Now, the new moon happens on a different day of the Gregorian calendar because the Gregorian calendar, they overlaid the real calendar to throw all of us off energetically. At first I was like, oh, that's just a conspiracy, but it really does. It jangles everything and causes more confusion. So when you follow the lunar calendar, there's 13 new moons every year. And this is a new moon in Aquarius, and Aquarius is air energy. Aquarius is ruled by Uranus. It's a lot of stirring up in the air. And that being said, this particular year, we are finishing out the we're finishing out the year of the wood snake. Now snakes go close to the ground, they crawl underground, they dig up all the stuff, and they're very transformative, shedding their skin, rubbing off all the old scales and all the baggage that we don't need to carry. In Tibet, they call the snakes are also the nagas. They live down underwater and down in the ground. And they do specific practices to like pacify the Nagas. But the Nagas also are related to dragons and they also guard treasure and guard teachings and things like that. So we're moving from the year of the wood snake into the year of the fire horse. And the fire horse is, I put a lot of information on what the Tibetans talk about in terms of the fire horse in that article. I'm not going to go into all the detail here, but they have what they call a wind horse that carries spiritual energy, and they do like wind horse practices. So, this is when you see the Tibetan prayer flags up, there's often wind horses on those prayer flags to carry the prayers through the air, through the winds across the world, around Mount Kailash and things like that. So, you can read more of that I put in there. And it's a very, like the Chinese are more with their Confucianism. It's like, we don't want things stirred up, God forbid society gets stirred up because we've got these millions and millions of people here we've got to keep in line. So they didn't like, especially fire horse women. They said they would be too disruptive to society and too rebellious. Whereas you read what the Tibetans think about it, and it's like, let's go. This is a great year for spiritual transformation and transmutation. They want the change. They want us to get out of this unenlightened state, even if the chaos is all the karma that's being stirred up, but you have to stir it up in order to move through it. So you can read on there what they say about that. Now, I was at a friend's house who is a Dharma sister, and she's studied with the same lineage that I've mostly studied with, the Kaju lineage, almost exclusively. Um, the head of the Kaju lineage is called the Karmapa, and he's the spiritual head of Tibet, whereas the Dalai Lama is the more political head of Tibet. Um, Izay, she who actually owns a champagne shack too. It's funny, but she also studied with Shambhala. Now, Shambhala was started by the very first Lama, Chogyam Trungpa, that the Tibetans sent to the West. They took him and they said, "Your your part of your path is to travel to the West and open up. We're gonna take these teachings out to the West." And this was back in the late 1950s, I believe. They sent him to Oxford University in England. So here's this Tibetan who was raised in monastery in robes and everything else, and they send him to Oxford University, and where he goes and he starts wearing a suit and tie because he didn't want the Westerners to be distracted by all the different garb and stuff. They wanted them to be, and he needed to learn Oxford English. That's like the gold standard in English, right? Oxford English. So they send this Tibetan Rinpoche to Oxford, and he learns Oxford in English, and he dresses in a suit and tie. There's a great documentary about him. His name is Chogyam Trungpa, and he started Naropa Institute in Boulder, and he built this amazingly beautiful stupa that's up above Boulder in the Colorado mountains, and it's a really magical place. I went there and had a really, actually, pretty intense experience there. But he was the one who came over in the 1960s and had this whole following of hippies and everything around him. And he was kind of like sometimes thought of kind of cultish, but he started the Shambhala tradition, and then his son took it over. So it's still related to all the other traditions, but it's kind of separate. And they do all of their chanting in English. So it's weird for me though when if I sit down with them and they start chanting in English because I just learned know all the prayers in Tibetan. And when you get the practices, like they'll have the Tibetan words and then right underneath them the English words. So you can follow along chanting in Tibetan and still see the English. But when you hear it, it just doesn't have the same effect like chanted in English. But he wanted people to understand and actually say verbally, because there's power in the word, right? It's like the first thing in Genesis in the Bible. There's power in that word. So this, Izay practiced with them, and I was standing out in her driveway last week, or like maybe 7 days ago. I mean, this whole last week has been a blur because we had Imbolc on Sunday, we had the full moon in Leo on Sunday. Uranus turned direct in the skies today. Uranus rules Aquarius. Um, so there's a lot of movement happening. Um, so we were standing in her driveway and we were talking about stuff, and she's like, "Yeah, the mamos are like flying around." And I knew what she was saying because you just really go outside and feel it. You can feel almost like these air currents. It's like, look at the storm and look at the way things are they are stirred up. And she's like, "We have to do the Mamos chanting." And I'm like, "What's the Mamos chanting?" And it's a Shambhala thing um, where they do it they usually starts 10 days before the New Year's Day. Okay. So we're going to go over that first, but I'm going to open it with the opening prayers and closing prayers so that we can just create this kind of sacred space around this. And I have a couple ways that you guys can participate in it, but I thought it would be a good group thing to do because sometimes we see all this turmoil and instead of getting pulled off into it and distracted, we can have something that can help ground us and center us and feel like we're doing something, which is much more powerful to do practices like this than to get all involved in all the hoopla of the madness out there. Okay. It's kind of like with those the Tibetan the monks are not Tibetan, but the monks that are walking across, they're not involved in all the stuff. They're being an example for everybody else to just keep taking that one step forward after another. So let me do the chants and then I'm going to share the screen and kind of go over the high points of the article I put up. And then we can do the practice tonight and discuss how we can all participate together just as like a core thing to help everybody. So these are the prayers to be recited at teachings from the Kaju lineage. So I'm gonna chant them first in English and then in first in Tibetan and then in English so you can hear both. And there's one section that needs to be done 3 times, so I'll do that the third time in Tibetan. So this is the refuge and bodhicitta prayer. Every practice we do, you give refuge to the Dharma, the Sangha, the Dharma, and you create bodhicitta in your heart. So bodhicitta is putting all of your actions and what you're doing out there to help others in service to other sentient beings. Dangje churong sochi chuknam la jangdu bardu dakni chapsu chi dagi jinsok chipe sonam ge jola penjo sangje jupar shok. In the Buddha, Dharma, and the Supreme Assembly, I take refuge until enlightenment. Through practicing generosity and the other paramitas, may I achieve Buddhahood to benefit beings. Sangje chudong sochi chuknam la jangju bardu dakni chapsu chi daki jinsok chipe sonam gi jola pentra sangje ju par shok. Shak sa wadong chushing shak padong jesu yirong kushing so wa yi ge wa jung ze da gi jisak pa tom che zog pe cham chuk ju no wo. Whatever merit we accumulate through prostrating, making offerings, confessing, rejoicing, requesting, and praying, I dedicate to the goal of enlightenment. Dashi chushing mi tok trom ri robling shi je denni song je shing du mi pale du pa yi jokun nam dak shin la chu par shok. The earth is sprinkled with fragrant water and strewn with flowers, adorned with Mount Meru, the 4 continents, and the sun and the moon. Imagining all of this as a Buddha realm, I offer it. May all beings enjoy this immaculate domain. Semchen namchi sangpa tang lo yi je drak je tarwar je chung tung mong tek pa yi cho chi kor lo kor du sol. Pray turn the wheel of Dharma, of the ordinary great or small vehicle, in accord with the various attitudes and dispositions of each and every being. So now we can. I wonder. I'm gonna actually, you know what? No, I'm gonna share the article I put up here. It's the same thing. All right. feed. It's on the meditation section feed. So, wish. Oh my goodness. Okay, I wish I could make it the full screen size, but I can't. Um, okay. So this new moon in Aquarius is coming on February 17th, and there's this buildup of energy towards it. We have Uranus turning direct today, but on the day of the Losar, Neptune and Saturn are finally coming together to meet up exactly at 0 degrees of Aries, which is the world access point. It's like they're meeting over the trunk of the world tree or over the top of Mount Kalish. And they've been dancing around this point like for the last maybe even year. And so they're finally going to come together at the exact degree. At the same time, there's a lunar eclipse this day, which just potentizes everything. And eclipses bring their own energy of, we don't know, it's like a wild card energy to the table, as if there's not enough wild cards already happening. We've never lived, well, the last time Neptune and Saturn came together on the world point, they don't know. No astrologer has been able to, they've gone back like 14,000 years and have not found a time when this has happened. Now, they have come together before, and when it was around pretty unruly times in history with a lot of revolution and a lot of changes happening. Um, the fire horse year comes around every 60 years, so it's 1966. And that happens to be my natal sign. Um, so the Mamos, so what are the Mamos? When I was talking to Ide, the in Tibet they talk about these dakinis, which are female form, and they're like angels, or almost like they're very they can be kind of unruly, almost like the fairies can or the fae, and they'll come flying around through the air and clearing things out. They can also stir things up. So the Mamos, these are some of the quotes that I pulled from this. This is actually a practitioner from Shambhala, understanding dawn season. So in Tibetan tradition, the Mamos are considered among the main natural forces that respond to human misconduct and environmental misuse by creating obstacles and disease. In Western speak, these can be considered the forces of the natural world personified, the eyes, ears, and sprites of Gaia herself. And when I started reading about this, these are the things that came up for me when I started my very, very first version of this program in Reverence back during COVID. And I'm like, the thing that is going to help us get through here is to really anchor ourselves back into these natural forces. Um, the Mamos become enraged when people lose touch with their own intelligence and therefore with reality. I mean, here we're sitting here with AI, with all this stuff. Everybody's sucked into the screens and don't even know if their feet are on the ground or not. They are associated with the karmic consequences of degraded personal or societal actions. Their enraged response might be in proportion to the karma accumulated, but it could also be unpredictable and completely out of proportion. Similarly, we know that there have been many cases where small provocations have produced great wars. Once enraged, mamos tend to cause large scale problems, fighting and civil discord, famines, plagues, and environmental calamities. In the Mamo chant, it says that they incite cosmic warfare, which a lot of us have been saying that all along. And this year, from a woman I follow who's a Kali devotee, like a serious Kali devotee. She's like, this is a year for Kali, and Kali can be considered as Mamos. It can also be considered the dark goddess energy. Well, she'll sit quiet a long, long time until it just gets so out of control. And this is what Kali did. She stepped up and she just burned the whole shit show down. She just fire blasted the whole entire battlefield. Doesn't matter what side people were on. It's like it's got to stop. So it's pretty interesting. Like you wake up this energy, and it's interesting. So this woman called Lama Lena, she put up on her site about the Mamos. This is very interesting because this is a version of Tara, and there's in green Tara is the feminine emanation of the Buddha energy. And there were 21 different Taras. So there's green Tara, red Tara, there's black Tara. And this version of Tara, which I was not familiar with, and it's interesting, she has three faces like Hecate does. Um, she is called Lady Tara Parnashavari. And I put this picture up because if you guys do want to just meditate on it, and this is her mantra. So, a mantra for a deity is like saying their name and calling them in and asking their energy to be present for you in your life. Now, Tara's automatically, you don't need a special enlightenment to call on her. She's there. If there's obstacles in your path, she will come in and she will clear them, your spiritual path of enlightenment. So she Lama Lena said she is the element of nature. She is the storm, the flood. She's the peace of the forest, of the mountains and the valleys, the peace that will enforce itself if you try and pave it. It's very interesting to think about. So she's like the Tibetan version of Gaia. But again, like the feminine, you just don't want to piss her off and get on her bad side, right? So she's the 20th of the 21 Taras. She averts major obstacles such as contagions and war. And there was a whole group of Tibetans, this was on the Rinpoche, who had called on his Sangha to do her practice during COVID. And then I put a link here if you're interested in listening to it or doing that. But you can also just gaze upon her image in meditation. You can gaze on it. You can also say her mantra, which it's pretty long. It's Om Pishatsi Parna Shavari Sarwa Mari Prasha Mani Hung. And you don't have to be perfect pronunciation. So the Duns season is when the Shambhala group did this practice of pacifying the Mamos. So it is said that the last days at the end of the Tibetan year are marked by a propensity to lose one's mindfulness. And as a result, we can have accidents and mishaps. Such losses of mindfulness are referred to as attacks by dons, DONS. Because of such losses of mindfulness, we act in ways that are not kind to ourselves, to others, or to the environment. And we pretty much see this all around us right now, from the collective to personal. Um, So, and then it just talks about Chogyam Trungpa and the Tibetan. So, the period of 10 days preceding Shambhala Day or Losar is referred to in our Sangha as the dawn season, because such sudden losses of mindfulness can be more common, and is a time during which it's recommended that we don't begin any major undertakings, such as extensive travel or big changes of life, but that we keep life simple and be very mindful and do a lot of practice. So this is when they did the pacifying the turmoil of the Mamos, and we're going to read through the actual practice. Um, the Vajru, the practice manual says that mamas are wrathful goddesses, usually pictured as furious, ugly women. So it's like Kali, or like the Morrigan, who's been coming in strong, or like Hecate, or like um, Black Moon Lilith, which is very active right now as well. Um, They can be dakinis acting as protectors. If reacted to negatively, and this is the key, they look really almost like demons. If you react to them negatively, of like, oh man, they appear as fickle, causing all sorts of chaos. If you understand them positively, they serve as reminders of awareness, almost at the level of discursive thought. We pacify the mamos so they will not cause chaos, but will help us instead. Um, so it's really an elaborate protector offering. So we're calling on them to and asking them forgiveness and reciting the chant and looking at them as sacred protectors to protect us from all the chaos. So it says it is not the mamos that it's not the mamos that cause us to eat bad cheap food and wear clothes of rags. That's our own confusion, our dawns at work. We want to banish or send away the dawns that cause us to lose mindfulness. The mamos will help us reduce our confusion if they are convinced that that is our desire. If not convinced, they visit us with their wrath and with more chaos. In this way, they are protectors. So that's why they give practices, like in Tibet, they always give practices to these like wrathful deities. It's essentially to get them working on your side and saying, we understand why you're being wrathful and why you're so pissed off, and please forgive us for any of our own transgressions. And we want to work with you to just help them, use them as protectors to protect your world. Remembering that the protectors or dharmapalas, as well as deities altogether, are nothing else than projections of the richness of our own minds. By supplicating them, we are in fact rousing confidence in our own Buddha nature. The function of the protectors of the truth is to protect us from deceptions and sidetracks on the path, to detect and clear away any obstacles to fully awakening in the phenomenal world. And then they said wrathful dharmapalas are known as mahakalas, which are the masculine form, and mahakalis, the feminine form. They're fierce and swift in destroying whatever obstructs the dharma. And I put a link up here if you want to learn more about them. A lot of them, when Tibetan Buddhism came to the West, their protector deities, both the Tonkas and the statues, they actually covered up in katas and scarves because they were afraid that the Christians would think them and think that they were devil worshippers. Um, because they're scary, but they're meant to be scary because they're protectors. But they're also meant to wake us up and wake and realize, hey, you're following all these distractions, get up back on the path, and then we'll protect you from all the distractions. So dawns operate, so the dawns are the things in our own mind that create, which are kind of like all the distractions, which create all the problems. So they operate undercover by making themselves seem like reasonable parts of our minds. For example, if we're in a hurry trying to get to a meeting and driving fast but carefully, and a car cuts in front of us abruptly, which happened to me about 4 times today, what could seem more reasonable than leaning on the horn and flipping the finger to the offending driver? Wasn't he or she aware of what they were doing? What were they thinking? They'd better wake up. By cultivating awareness of our minds, our thinking, and our emotions. If a negative emotion arises suddenly, we don't automatically react in a knee-jerk kind of way, but allow a little space between the impulse and the action, hopefully allowing us to recollect our basic goodness and the other drivers. We could remember that it is helpful, as always, to be gentle and kind toward ourselves and others. And then this just talks about Shambhala Day and things that they do on the day. They do divinations from the I Ching. And this is the Shambhala practitioner who wrote the above, so I just put his name in there. So this is the actual practice that we're going to do tonight. and there's a link to a PDF. This is a video of the practice being chanted in Tibetan, and then the mantra or prayer is actually in Sanskrit. But if you want to, one option to do this practice, we want to do it from the 7th to the 17th, once a day. And you do the practice 7 times over. I found this video, and there's a Tibetan Rinpoche chanting it in Tibetan and the Sanskrit prayer 7 times in a row. So you can always just put this on and play it and sit in meditation and listen to him, if that's an easy way to do it. You can even, I mean, if you're driving or things are really hectic, you can always put it on in your car and just listen to it for the full 7 times and meditate to it. Um, and then I go into like the fire horse year. I just thought this was a really cool image coming out of the stars and across the sky. It was like a star bear, but a fire horse flying across the sky. And it symbolizes transformation, action, clarity, burning up karma. It's like those flames coming off of his tail and mane is like burning all of our old karmic debris. And it's suggesting a year of multiplied results for spiritual and worldly efforts. So the year of the fire horse is one of the most dynamic and spiritually charged years in the Tibetan and Himalayan astrological cycle. Um, and then there's a whole bunch. It's believed to carry immense vitality, energy, and spiritual transformation. It represents a rare and powerful alignment of motion and illumination, a time when people are inspired to take bold steps, undertake pilgrimages, and pursue both outer and inner journeys. And then they talk about it in terms of Tibet and the wind horse on the prayer flags and more mythology and things that you can read through so you can understand it better. Um, it was also there's this Mount Kailash, which I believe I put a picture in here. Oh, maybe I didn't put the picture. You can find the picture of Mount Kailash, which is said to be it's like the Y- Yggdrasil tree in Norse. It's the center, it's the world access point. And people do like circumambulate that mountain as a pilgrimage. And then it's just why it's auspicious, purification and renewal, and some more information. So you guys can read through that. Um, so I'm going to go to I don't know if this will work if I put it up, bring it up here. Yeah, that'll work. Okay. So this is the PDF, and this is what they sent me a copy of this, and then this has the full. Let me move this over to this side of the screen. Um, so this is the English portion of it, pacifying the turmoil of the Mamos. And then this is the mantra. And then it's followed by what is called, that's in this box, is the 100-syllable mantra of purification. It's the Vajrasattva mantra. And what that does is when you're chanting it, you can imagine sitting like the Buddha's sit with your spine erect and the top of your head up here, and nectar dripping down from the Buddha Vajrasattva who's sitting on top of your head. And it's just filling up your whole body and flowing all the way down. And taking all of anything you need to purify and just letting it go right into the earth below you as you say the portion here that's in the box. And we'll go over this. I know it's a lot, and this is all in Sanskrit, so the pronunciation is a little weird, but it doesn't matter. And then at the end, there's instructions for doing mudras with your hand. So the one is with the index and ring finger of the right hand bent like this, and the index and ring finger, and the thumb, middle, and oh wait, index. There we go. Oh wow, it's like this. Okay, I've never done this mudra before. So the index, ring finger, and then the thumb, middle, and little finger extended. You make the trident mudra, like Poseidon's trident, could be Neptune. And you put this in with your right hand as you say the following part. And then you take the tips of both fingers slightly cupped, the insides is rounded, and make the Amriti vase mudra, which is like this. So you're turning your hands into a vase and saying the second part, which this is the offering mudra. So you can picture it like nectar being, you're holding up a vase full of like blessed nectar to the mamos as an offering. Okay. So we'll just make sure everybody's muted because there's always an echo and there's no way we can chant together, which wish we could because it's really nice to chant together in the same room. And I'll try to chant this slowly so then you can have this recording to go by. And what we will do is chant this 7 times in a row, once a day from February 7th to February 17th. And if you can't chant this, like I said, that's why I put up that YouTube video using technology. Yes, Stathia.
Sorry.
Hmm.
If we chant it from the 7th to the 17th, that's
Hmm.
11 times. That's 11 days.
You're doing 7 times a day.
Yes. For how
So
many
you
days?
for 11 days from
For 11
7
days.
to the
Okay.
17th. Yeah. Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah. So yeah. So you chant through this 7 times in a row, which I'm not going to do tonight. I'm going to do one and then you can follow along with that. Um yeah. And again, it's like you can just spend a few minutes in, we'll do this right now, just grounding ourselves, finding our seat, letting the external world, any of those concerns or worries be parked at the door, and feeling the chair underneath us, our meditation cushion underneath us, making sure our spines are nice and straight and our head is up, heading up to the heavens, so that that energy can flow down our central channel and our breath can watch our breath for a few moments. Feel our lungs filling up and letting everything go. Letting our breaths flow in through our lungs and all the way down to our bellies, to our Buddha bellies. Maybe even placing a hand on our belly and a hand on our heart. And bringing our mind to the breath for just a few moments to settle in and find our grounding on the earth, on Tara Prajna Parvati's realm of the earth. And know that as we're doing this, we're making offerings to all of those goddesses, to Kali, to Black Moon Lilith, to the Morrigan, to all of them that had become so stirred up because of what mankind is, how people are behaving right now on all sides of the aisle, hurting each other and, just being overall really nasty. So we're sending our good thoughts to our protector spirits to remove the obstacles as gently as possible. And so we're going to just start the chanting. Bayo At the end of the 500-year dark age, when the secret mantra has strayed into Pon, when children do not listen to their parents' words, an evil time when relatives quarrel, when people dress sloppily in clothes of rags, eating bad, cheap food, when there are family feuds and civil wars, these provoke the Black Mamos' wrath. And various women fill 1,000 realms, sending sickness upon humans and beasts. The sky is thick with purple clouds of sickness. They incite cosmic warfare. They destroy by causing the age of weaponry. Suddenly, they strike people with fatal ulcerous sores. Completely daring, they bring down hail and thunderbolts. Earth lords, nagas, and yins are your subjects. The 8 classes of devas and rakshasas and so on are your retinue. There is nothing that you cannot subjugate. Whatever sickness there is comes from you, Mamos. Whatever plague there is comes from you, Mamos. Whatever blood there is comes from you, Mamos. Please change the course of evil and sickness. We make this offering so you may be appeased. By the Samaya substance of Torma, Amrita, and the offerings of representations, appeasements, and practice substances, may the turmoil of the Mamos be pacified. Be appeased, Samaya, through the blessings of appeasing you for us yogins and our disciples. May sickness cease and plague be averted. Erase us from your chart of doom. Put away your dice. Please avert sickness, duns, and obstacles. Please avert evil prophecies and bad omens. Make the misfortunes of the Hey-Maras be banished to the right. May the misfortunes of the She-Maras be banished to the left. May the misfortunes of all Maras be banished into space. Now is the time of the great exorcism. Now is the time, Samaya. Please perform the activities we request of you. Overcome by ignorance from beginningless time, clouded by stupidity due to laziness, however we have strayed from the path of omniscience, may the hosts of emanation dakinis forgive us. And I'm just going to put in here, this was written in 1613. And so now this is the mantra. Om Samaya, Ah Samaya, Hum Samaya, Pragraksha Muntra, Ekajati Ninkaragmo Byo Ha. And then the Vajrasattva mantra. Om Vajrasattva Samayam Anupalaya, Vajrasattva Tieno Patishta, Dridho me bawa, Sutosho me bawa, Suposho me bawa, Anu Raktu me bawa, Sarva Siddhi me preyacha, Sarva Karmasu cha me, Chitam Shre Akuru hum ha 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 ho. Bhagawan Sarva Tathagata Vajra Mame Munsha Vajri Bawa Mahasamaya Sattva Ah. And then the index finger and ring finger. Fat Mahadevi Kali Dushtam Takahana Daha Rulu Banda Pacha Rana Pat. Om Vajra Dakini Devi Mahakali Remati Kaya Vaka Shita Sarva Siddhi Samaya Pala Avashaya Ah. This was written by Raga Asya. May all be auspicious and may all be virtuous. So to do this practice, you read through the first three paragraphs and then say the first mantra, which is going out towards those dakinis, the mamos, and then the purification and forgiveness mantra, and just say it the best you can. And then the trident mudra, and then the offering to the dakinis. Um, they talk about, like, the first paragraph describes what's happening and what these beings are doing, and it's pretty, um when you read about it and being written in like the 1600s and some what's going on now, especially like the eating bad cheap food and everything going on with our food supply. And then they describe, like, Earth Lords, Nagas, and Yens are your subjects. So they kind of describe their retinue and the other beings that follow along with them and what their world is here. And they say, please, we make this offering so you may be appeased by the Samaya substance of Torma. Tormas are these offerings that you make out of, we made barley flour. It's kind of like flour and water, like Play-Doh when you make in preschool, and they make them in certain shapes and figures that they put on the altar to offer up to them. And Amrita is like that nectar, that heavenly nectar that you can imagine offering them. And when you offer in your mind's eye, you offer like hundreds of thousands of these going to these beings, like the whole entire sky filled with offerings that you're sending to them, because our minds are super powerful, and in that energetic world they pick that up. And so we're asking that they pacify their actions and appease their actions, and that all of this, like, sickness and plagues and war can be averted. And it's interesting that they say the time of the great exorcism. Now, this is an English translation too, so I have never seen that word used in any Tibetan things. But and then just overcoming, saying how ignorant we are and helping us to overcome our ignorance and stupidity and lack of enlightenment to see what is really going on and how we've strayed from the path. And so you would just read through this 7 times in a row, once a day, or every day. Beginning, and the seventh is on Sunday. Yeah, the seventh is on Sunday. So, does anybody have any questions? And again, you could always, you can, if you decide to do it, just set aside some time every day, whether it's 5 minutes. You can read through 7 times that practice every day. Um, and then, or you could read through the practice once and then listen to the YouTube video while you're just sitting in meditation, because you're gonna, and kind of visualize, these very wrathful feminine beings flying around. And like, it's interesting because Morrigan has been really coming in heavy for me since, well, I realized how she was showing up for me in Ireland when I was there, which I didn't even realize until this past weekend. I was talking to a devotee of hers, and we were comparing notes, and I was like, okay, she was there with me like the whole time. But she's like, in Irish, Celtic, she's the battlefield goddess. She comes in over the battlefield and she can determine which side wins or not. And she sends her crows in. So she's very much like a personification, just like Kali, of what the Tibetans are calling this energy that's going on right now. But again, we can turn it around and use it as a protection energy for our world that we live in, right? So it's just
What
kind of
was
like,
the purple thing
mhm.
in her hand?
Let me see.
What was the lavender thing in her hand in the picture?
Let me let me go back to the it's it is that's a mala. I believe that's a mala. And you can look her up and they'll describe each one of these things because she has a bow and she has a flower that actually looks like some type of an herbal plant up here. And then this looks, yeah, this looks like a mala or it could be a rope because one end of it comes down and there's a circle and then there's another hook. Um, and then the arrow for the bow is in another hand, and then she has this knife. Now, a lot of times if there's ropes or knives or things like that going on, it's to it's almost like lassoing and harnessing in the energy. And knives and things it's like cutting the head off because it is symbolizing cutting your ego off, right? And we all know, like, yeah, ropes and binding. Those, it's like like a binding spell, or harnessing our shadow energies, essentially. Because we're all not the microcosm, what's inside of us, is a reflection of the macrocosm on the outside. So until we deal with our own internal shadows and our own internal anger and all of these things, um, all of this stuff keeps showing up externally. And we're in this world where there's a lot of different people on a lot of different levels too. So, um, yeah, it's interesting. It's also, they would say, at the same time, and I feel like I hear my Rinpoche is like sitting over my shoulder, like these, just like the Tibetans talk about the fire horse, these are times where we can make a lot of progress on the spiritual path because they are times of great transformation. And we're at these, we can find ourselves at the crossroads multiple times during the day. It's like I was cut off no less than 4 times today. I mean, literally cut off, whereas if I had not been paying attention, I would have hit them. And the first time I did go, what the fuck? The second time I caught myself. The third time I said, okay, I'm grateful I saw you and I was able to put on the brakes and not hit you and not end up in an accident. And then I pulled in my driveway and I was like, I'm grateful I made it home and I was safe and had the protection looking out for me. So that's kind of how we turn it around, and it's training grounds for our own awareness and our own mindfulness. And that's pretty much what the spiritual path is. So we're having a lot of things in our lives right now helping us move along the path. So just remember that. It's like the Chinese curse, like you're blessed to be born in interesting times. So yeah, Stefan.
Um, I think that I definitely got scared by one of those nice protectors, and they sent me
Uh,
shingles. I have multi-dermatomal shingles,
ooh,
which is the bad
ooh.
kind. I'm on Percocet right now, so
Oh my
I,
goodness.
yeah, this is like week
Oh,
3.
that's painful.
It was so painful. I was back. We have docs outside the box here, and they have a holistic urgent care. So I went
Oh,
today.
wow.
They gave me 12 grams of IV vitamin C and a Tramadol shot. Teradol. It's like
Tramadol, yeah.
not Tramadol. It was
Or
Termadol or Ter something.
oh, okay.
Yeah, but
And this is holistic?
yeah, it's docs outside the box. They
Oh,
they
cool.
yeah, it's very cool. So it's an urgent care. And I saw one of the doctors last week,
Wow.
and then it just got worse and worse. And she told me it was going to
Oh,
get worse, but
wow.
I didn't realize it was going to get that much worse. So
It
it
follows the
could be.
path. It's like related with the chicken pox. So it follows the
Yeah, it
path of
follows the
those
path of the nerves,
nerves.
but it's on more than one nerve on me. That's the
Oh.
problem. So it's over like this huge area.
You know, my dad had it really bad on
Yeah,
his
you can get it on
face.
your face, your eye.
Yeah. And he used this Chinese liniment, Zhengu Shui. It's the bone, the evil bone liniment, actually. I don't know if Liz is awake or not to chime in, but that really helped him. It helped him so much that my dad would take the bottle out himself and like slather it all over his
Yeah,
face.
that one's great. Stathia,
What's it
text
what's it
me
called?
your address. I'll send you a couple different. That one you can't get. Um, that one's better. You can only get if you're a practitioner. So I'll send you a bottle. But there's another one that an
Oh
Australian colleague
wow.
of mine makes specifically for shingles.
Shingle?
It's very
Oh,
helpful.
Thank you
It's a
so
Chinese
much.
topical. Yeah, 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 yeah. Especially if you're getting it on multiple dermatomes. That
Yeah,
shit's
that's just
painful.
not
So, oh
good.
my goodness. Yeah.
oh, yeah.
First time I had it, I'm like, what the hell?
Oh,
And so
yeah.
it's
It
like
can
the kind
definitely
you get
flare in
when you're
periods
on
of stress.
chemotherapy. Yeah. They said
Yeah.
if you're not immunocompromised, it's prolonged stress, but that's me.
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
thank you
I
so
mean,
much, Liz. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah,
is that like Tiger
just
Balm?
text me. Um
It's a
not
little
not the same.
different.
So Jungu
Uh,
Shui is it means it translates basically to sort of um getting the evil out of the bone, and then gu is bone, jung um and that's a shortening of it. It's like Jungu Xie Shui. Shui is water, so it's like getting a lot of things in Chinese medicine is about the translations literally getting the evil out. So it's just like pulling the pathogenic whatever, or just the basically like
the
the
latent
bad
pathogen.
energy, or just bad energy, right? Any kind of,
Yeah.
we can just say it however you want, but it's just helping the body like purge the toxicity. And so Zhonggu Shui is a multiple many thousand-year old martial arts recipe used in Shaolin temples specifically for like sprains, strains, breaks, because people were practicing and injuring each other all the time. And so it's
Mhm.
been modernized, and then the company that started making it was bought out, and then the recipe just got more and
Oh,
more and more diluted. And then so a colleague of mine in the States who works in Florida, he started making what he calls evil bone water. So it's his rough translation. And he sources the ingredients beautifully, and he makes it available to fellow practitioners to be sold around the States. So I've sent it to a few of you guys to try out.
yeah.
Did you
And
say
Yeah,
it's,
I've
evil
been
bong
using
water?
it.
huh?
I,
Did you say
I put
evil
it
bong water?
evil bone.
Evil
That's
Okay.
okay.
bone. It's amazing. It
Yeah,
really,
it
because that was when
is.
I
Oh,
couldn't
It
move my neck.
Yeah,
And thank you so much, Liz,
thank
for that,
you.
because that was
yeah.
of
like
course. Yeah.
Yeah.
crucial to me
Yeah,
being
I've been
able to
using
move.
it on yeah, I've been using it on my hip. Even when I get out of the shower, I'll just spray my whole area, that whole area.
So it's got a lot of
So,
like blood moving herbs. It's a mix of like cold and warm herbs, and then it penetrates deeply. But the idea is it moves fluid, it moves blood, but it's very helpful in terms of also as a pain reliever, because it helps move a lot of stagnant heat. And so that can really help with the pain of that prolonged shingles. But
Ah,
I
that's
have
a
something that
really
might
nice
be a little
idea.
more specific, but I'll send you both. So just send me your info on the yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay.
yeah, cool. Cool. All right. So does anybody else have any comments? I am going to be the energy this weekend, boy, is I don't know what else going on, but there's a lot. I'm in a lot of things. I'm going to be teaching up at Chi University, and I'm also it's a house called Veterinary Conference, which I pre-recorded the class I was giving for that, and then I'm going to be taking Jeffrey Ewan's um course on trauma and stones. So I want to come back and give you guys some tidbits out of that, especially since we're dealing with these animals that are just like whacked. And they're just, again, what's going on with the animals and their reactivity and their not being able to just have a normal dog that is predictable behavior and stuff with so many people, is another reflection of all of this other madness that's going on around us. And what does the main paradigm say? Oh, just put them on a drug. And it's not saying you need pain meds, but I'm just saying in terms general, instead of looking at the root problem and looking, well, these animals might be this way. And I know a lot of it has to go back to breeding and training, how they're picked up. Somebody the other day was talking about a dog they had who was, I think somebody called me. I'm just, sometimes I read this stuff and I wonder, it's like being in a dream all over again. But they're talking about these people are going to do this good thing and rescue this dog from Africa or South America or something. And they found the dog being chased down the street by gunfire, by people chasing off the strays. So they snag this dog up and pull it out of that situation and bring it to the United States and expect it to be like a couch dog while they sit around and watch Netflix and eat popcorn. And it's just not going to happen. And so, is it really fair for an animal like that when they're like, it's like timeline jumping for the dog, but you can't explain what's going on to them with that. I mean, it's kind of like like what you went through with your dog too. It's like
Exactly.
you can't expect them to just come to civilization and everything's hunky dory. It's not going to happen like that. So we really need to look at what's best for these animals, and maybe it may have been better to just leave the dog exactly where it was with its pack and its other animals it was hanging out with on the street. Believe me, I've seen a lot of street dogs. It might not be the most ideal situation, but how much worse is it than bringing that dog into a whole nother scenario where it can't live happily at all either?
Is it
So,
epigenetics or is it genetics or a combination of both? I
it's
think with
all of it. It's
my
all of
little
it.
girl, it was both.
Yeah, we're not going to get into that discussion because it's all of it. And this is what and thank you, Liz. Liz gave me these two books. I got to see her in person down here in Florida. But going back to the source and the TCM classics of the Neijing and the Yellow Emperor's Classic and the Taoist roots and the shamanic roots and even the animistic roots of TCM, where it is the as within, so without. The microcosm reflects the macrocosm, and the macrocosm reflects the microcosm. So that's everything. This giant web of life that includes the plant realms and the animal realms and the insects and the water and the fire and the wood and the metal. These are not theoretical concepts, they're actual, real things. And we are all connected to all of it. And it's really out of balance right now. So, the best thing we can do to help bring back more balance is our own inner work, sitting down with our own demons and our own shadows and working on those, bringing them to the table so that we can open up our own hearts and send out compassion to the world in a helpful manner instead of projecting our shit all over everybody else and offloading it onto the world. That's really what the Buddhist path is about. That's what the Taoist path is about, is, you know, working on ourselves, and the animals come into our lives to teach us different lessons and reflect back to us so much of what we ourselves need to work on. And it can be, they have a lot to teach us as teachers. Again, we're going through a lot of hard things with them as well, but if we can just stay the course and be present and milk every difficult situation for all we can milk it for right now, I think that's a good thing. And yeah, so I'm gonna be, I'll put out like, I'll if we decide, we could decide on a specific time of day, or you can just pick a time of day and just make a small pledge to yourself to do this practice once a day, starting on Sunday up until the new moon. And we'll be meeting again before then, so we could even do it together next Tuesday night as part of our meditation then as well. To pacify the mammals. And sometimes a lot of this work too, it's just bringing to mind, saying these words and realizing what's going on and working with these energies, and just the fact of acknowledging them. um it's almost like that dark feminine energy. It's like you guys have, it's like she's pounding on the door, blowing the house down, saying, "You've forgotten." Open your eyes, wake up. And just the fact of acknowledging that can really help. It will help settle that stuff down in our own lives, and with our own inner selves. And then that extends out to our loved ones, our animals, or other loved ones, humans in our life. And then that extends out to our neighborhoods and our neighbors. And then it eventually extends all the way out to um, our enemies. And that's how the Tibetans look at it: is you start with yourself, and then your loved ones, your mom and dad, your partner, your animals, the ones you care about most deeply, close to you. And then you start extending those circles on out, just like we do in Tonglen as well. So thank you, everybody. And you can find everything online. If you're having trouble or something, let me know. But and let me know how it goes. If you have questions, you can always throw me a quick question on it or something. But it should be, I mean, at first, sometimes these practices will like stir up awareness in you, but then it should like settle down, especially because we're ending it by offering this cup, this vase of Amrita to the Mamos, like, asking for their forgiveness and saying we're aware of what's going on and we're trying our hardest on our end. And that's really what matters. Okay. Thank you.
Before you
And
get off,
mhm.
today on Inside Scoop is Jackie, the owner of Animasol, and Ron Regal, the pioneer vet, who pioneer and light,
Mhm.
and our vet, in-house vet, are going to be on Inside Scoop. There's shitloads of science reports are going to be up there. There's like a really cool video
Well, that's cool.
of a petri dish with cells in it, and they hold red light up to it, and the cells all migrate to the light,
Cool.
and all other kinds of fun stuff. So watch it if you can.
When is that?
Sunday, Inside
Oh
Scoop.
yeah, I'm already booked up 3 different things this Sunday. Like I say, I don't know what's going on with this Sunday or this weekend, but it's like massive.
Crazy. I know.
A lot of stuff happening. So I'm gonna be and next week I so my plan is we're gonna end this program. It's coming up on spring equinox in March. We're gonna do a journey and closing out for that. And so between now and then, I want to give you guys a teaching on using the stones for trauma cases, from some tidbits I can glean from Jeffrey Ewan on that, because we are dealing with the stones and the trauma thing is such a huge deal. And then we're going to have some Q and A's, and then I'm going to ask you guys for suggestions, like moving forward. I plan on continuing having the meditation classes on Tuesday, and then maybe doing like a once a month Q and A or something like that, because I'm going to be working on my lectures and stuff for this fall. So anyways, that's that. Thank you everybody for joining tonight, and we'll see you next Tuesday on the other end.